Today's video is brought to you in conjunction with KitchenAid and the finest kettle in the world. No, it's not, but it could be KitchenAid. You know where to find me. Pay for this stuff my wife keeps buying and we're in business. So it's just coffee this morning, 9 AM, and I am intermittent fasting for the next 4 weeks to bump up my fat burning. 4 weeks will take me to my birthday. Jen has also floated the idea of a holiday in December, so beach body required, although coronavirus might put an end to that, and if that doesn't, her credit card bill for that kettle might finish it off completely. I also want to go into Christmas in as good shape as possible. It's much easier to avoid the temptations that come at that time if I have something that I don't want to lose. If I go into Christmas out of shape and unmotivated, I will come out of it looking like I was just living on mince pies and chocolate, because I would have been living on mince pies and chocolate. So I'm a fan of intermittent fasting, and obviously there's a ton of benefits to that. Enhanced production of growth hormones, stabilising your blood sugar levels, increased cell turnover through autophagy. But this is not a video about those benefits, because there are better resources for information on them than me, Google probably. I use it almost entirely for the weight loss benefits. If those other advantages come with it, that's great, but I'm mainly after the weight loss. So this is a video about how I stick to intermittent fasting, because especially at the early stages, it's not always as easy to adhere to for some people as others. And stating the obvious, I am not a nutritionalist or a doctor. I'm just someone trying to avoid eating too much ice cream while also training for an Ironman. If you find it interesting and useful, that is great. But if you are significantly underweight or overweight, or you've got an eating disorder, please do not take your health and fitness, and especially your dietary advice, from someone at home sitting in his garage. So this is my 5-step plan to sticking to intermittent fasting. Now, before we dive into it, the reason I like the approach is that ultimately it achieves its benefits by maintaining a calories in, calories out deficit. I've said in previous videos that I'm not a huge fan of calories in, calories out, although obviously it is ultimately that bottom line that is required to achieve the fat loss. You need to understand calories in, calories out, but I don't believe it should be a focus. It's like a pilot of a crashing plane focusing on gravity when really he should be focusing on trying to restart his engines instead.
You got any ideas? Actually, no.
The beauty of intermittent fasting is it does let you achieve that focus on something else while ultimately resulting in a calories in, calories out deficit. I've often seen people get really good results with intermittent fasting, only for somebody to come along and negatively comment, well, obviously, that's because you achieve calories in, calories out. That is like telling the pilot who saves his plane, well, obviously, you simply created more thrust acting against the Earth's gravitational pull with a restarted engine, blah, blah, blah.
Can we get serious now?
I've said it before, ultimately, if you think that the majority of people can achieve weight loss through calorie control alone, open your eyes. That is just not happening. I have done 5-2 fasting, I've done 24 and 48-hour full fast, and I always end up coming back to 16-8. I just like the simple consistency of it, the routineness of it. That's how I live my life. I wake up, I eat, I train, I go to sleep, and I repeat. Whenever I upset that balance by either a day of completely not eating or a day of extreme levels of exercise, it's very easy to start rocking the boat. And that can plant seeds of disruption that just grow into food problems. So it's 16-8 for me. At the moment, that means 2 PM till 10 PM. When I am 7, 8, 9, 10 days into that process, it becomes very straightforward indeed. Right now, I'm very early days, and coming into it off the back of the summer where I've been eating very differently is tough. It has been a joy to know that I can wake up at 5 AM and because of my endurance training, I can just hit the bagel straight away, especially as the KitchenAid toaster has an awesome bagel setting. Pony up KitchenAid. But when I start at 5 AM, it's very easy to follow that with a snack at 9 AM, maybe another at 11, maybe lunch at 12. Before 2 PM, I might have had 4 meals already. Now, when I'm training heavily for endurance, I can just about get away with it, but I can't get significantly lean doing it. So I'm intermittent fasting, 16-8, and here are my 5 tips for keeping that going. My intermittent fasting is intermittent. It is not long term. I do not go into it with any expectation that it will be long term. I do it until I no longer want to do it. Whether I'm bored of it, or it's worked, or I just want to change, I will happily drop out of it and into something else with no negative thoughts around that. I haven't failed, I haven't been unable to sustain it, I've simply chosen to move on and do something else. It is a ride at the fair, and there are plenty. I'm moving on to a new one, and there are lots to pick from. I like keto, I like targeted keto with carbs at the right time, paleo, plant-based. I don't really mind. Whatever I feel like doing and I feel looks like a good approach for the time being, I will happily jump into doing. And I will do the same at the gym. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's fast reps, sometimes it's high volume, low volume, drop sets, negatives. I'll simply mix it up, whatever takes my fancy. Now, is that the most efficient way rather than adopting one particular strategy and sticking to it and nailing it? I don't know, and I don't care. I am a human being, and the one thing we are supposed to be above all other things is adaptable. I would rather be better than most at most things than better than everyone at one particular thing. People will sometimes tell me that the problem with my diet approach is I don't stick to anything for a long time. Well, those people can just fuck off with the calories in, calories out fanboys, telling me that going from one really good way of eating to another really good way of eating is bad while they're eating pizza. I have no time for that. What is bad is feeling negative about the way you are eating. There is no quicker way of having you turn to junk food than feeling negative about yourself. So I go into any eating regime knowing that it lasts only as long as I want it to last, and after that I will adapt and change. Change is not a weakness. When I do eat, I eat. I eat clean. Having a load of junk at 9 p.m. is a surefire way of making sure I'm wanting junk at 9 a.m. But I do not restrict my calorie consumption during that eating window. And that works for me because I know that when I start eating at 5 a.m. and eat all day long, as long as I'm training, I just about maintain weight, maybe very slightly increase it. How can delaying things until 2 p.m. in the afternoon not result in results? So with that pressure of restriction removed, instead I can focus on making sure I hit the protein requirement that I want, making sure I'm getting enough healthy fats to fill full up, being sensible with my carbs. If I'm not doing a lot of training, then mostly from vegetables. But if I'm doing a 4 or 5 hour bike ride, lunch might well end up being a rice fest. I have no problem with that. When I'm eating, I'm eating. And I make sure the food I am going to be having that day is worth waiting for. Not eating all morning and then breaking your fast with a lettuce is not the way to go. I want that window filled with decent sized, clean meals. I go to bed feeling full up. In fact, I've had calorie restricted diets where I've eaten for the whole duration of the day, and the calories over that whole day have added up to more than I'm currently having, but because they've been stretched thinly across all hours of daylight, it ends up being one measly little meal after another. It's a depressing way of eating. That's not happening today. When I do eat today, I'm going to eat well for that short window. Don't be tricked during those 16 hours of fasting. Your body is very, very good at getting the food it thinks it needs, and it will use every trick in the book to do that. Eating because you're bored, that's my Achilles heel. I can be absolutely stuffed, my stomach telling me if you eat another thing you will be ill, and my head is saying, shut up, I'm bored, let's go to the fridge. Before I know it, I'm eating and thinking, what am I doing? Your mind is not always a reasonable guide to what you need during that fasting window. Your stomach might be saying to you, this is unusual, we would normally have eaten by now. A bit odd. You might even feel slight hunger pangs, but that's no problem. Your mind is telling you, oh my God, we're about to starve, quick, go get some food. Go busy yourself. 5 minutes into a new task, you will have forgotten that you were apparently on the verge of imminent death. On Mondays, I set up my week every Monday. Training, work, jobs around the house, whatever it is, it goes into my diary, and I'm currently trying to fill as much as possible into the mornings. Client meetings, phone calls, whatever it is. I do not want to be twiddling my thumbs at 10 a.m. thinking, what can I do now? I'm lucky because I work from home, but it was even worse when I worked in an office because obviously you've got people around you that are eating. Or even worse, telling you how breakfast is the most important meal of the day, as though the calorific energy they consumed the night before has miraculously disappeared during the hours of sleep. And yes, I understand the difference between breaking a fast and breakfast. Trust me, anyone that says breakfast is the most important meal of the day is very specifically talking about Cocoa Pops at 8 a.m. in the morning. I food prep every single morning, and this approach applies to pretty much any diet I'm on, but it's really beneficial for intermittent fasting. Firstly, I can very clearly see what I have to come for the day. There is no ability for my mind to start tricking me that I'm not getting enough food. I can see it all. In fact, when you lay out all your meals for the day, you often end up thinking, do I even need that much? Secondly, when I do start eating at 2 p.m, especially if I've exercised, I will be hungry. And although I say I don't like to focus on calories, I'm not stupid. I am well aware it is easy to get carried away, and before 3 p.m, I have ruined the whole thing. If that 2 p.m. meal has been made, it's ready to go, and that's all there is, it is far more likely that's all I'm going to have. And third, I like food. I like to look forward to eating food. I like to know what's coming. I've got a meal out tomorrow night. I've already been online, looked at the menu. I know exactly what I'm going to have. I can't wait. So if I'm knocking up my incredible casein whey, collagen and healthy toppings mousse shake dessert delight thing, which I make using a KitchenAid blender, possibly the best blender in the world, it gives me something to look forward to. Knowing that is sat in my fridge, just waiting for me to be chilling on the sofa for TV time in the evening, keeps me going. This isn't about deprivation. This is about eating well during a short window of time and prepping all your food in the morning. What better way to show you that that's exactly what's going to come? And then lastly, exercise. And the first thing is that the majority of people can do the majority of their exercise whether they have eaten or not. Forget what your mum told you about get your Weetabix or you're going to pass out by lunchtime. If you're going down the gym, running 5k down the pool, you will probably be fine. Thousands of years ago, we would wake up, not a Rice Krispie in sight, and somehow go and forage or hunt for our food, and we seem to do okay. Now, if you're doing an abnormal amount of training, in other words, more than the norm, as I do, then you might have to be sensible and work out what works for you. For example, I know I can go and run an easy half marathon distance fasted, no issue. But if I do a fast 10k at race pace, I want a few hundred calories in me a couple of hours beforehand. Same in the gym. Arms, shoulders, fasted, fine. Chest and back, maybe if I keep it short. Squats and deadlifts, I'm going to fall over if I do that fasted. So I adapt. I either tweak my regime, maybe I do eat early that day, or I'm lucky, I can shift my training to later in the day if I need to. And talking of shifting my training, I like to stick most of it when I'm doing intermittent fasting right about now. Done. Lunchtime training. It's perfect for me. I'm lucky, my job, my hours allow for it. It fits brilliantly. And I get two real advantages from doing it. One is that I'm doing fasted cardio a lot of the time. Now, I don't believe all the claims for fasted cardio, but there must be some benefits to it, so I'll take what I can get. The main thing I'm after is that if I'm training at lunchtime, I don't have to worry about focusing on not eating till 2 p.m. Today's run started at 12:30, it finished at 1:30. By the time I get home and cool down, shower, it'll be 2 o'clock and time for food. So today I wasn't focused on 2 p.m. because once it got to about 10:30, it was getting too late to eat anyway with a run coming up. All I gotta do is hang in there till 10:30. Much easier. It works even better on a lazy weekend, which is a dangerous time for me. I take a line until 9 a.m. I fast for 1 hour. When it gets to 10, I'm 2 hours away from whatever the training session is going to be that day. I can't eat then. Even I can handle 1 hour of focus. Normally, people will say that exercise is something of a hurdle for all this stuff. Good. If it's a hurdle, make it a hurdle to eating and stick it in front of your food. Don't make it a hurdle to fasting. Not all hurdles are bad. Okay, I am done and it is now time to eat at last. Hopefully it is useful and interesting, and if so, please like and subscribe, because it is literally what keeps the videos coming. At least until the kitchen maid money starts rolling in.